What is up, guys? Today we are going to be working on a little bit of a tier list for Master Santiago. Okay, so we've got all the teams here. There's 12 teams total that have made it to Master Santiago, and I've got this tier list here. I mean, I'm sure everyone knows how tier lists work. I've got these 5 different categories here: trophy contender, top 4, wins a game in playoffs, makes it to playoffs, and out in Swiss. But before we actually get into the ranking system, let me explain how Santiago is going to work. So we've got 2 stages here. We have the Swiss stage, which will happen first, where all of these teams will play all of the other teams, and whoever comes out with the top 4, basically, with the most wins, or if there's a tiebreaker like the most rounds, the most maps, etc., will continue on to the playoffs. But in the playoffs, there are already 4 teams, which are the number 1 seed from each region. So these guys do not have to play in the Swiss stage. They're just automatically into the playoffs, and then they face off against the top 4 from the Swiss stage. So with that being said, we can immediately put a couple of people into makes it to playoffs. We know Nongshim's in playoffs, we know Fury's in playoffs, we know AG's in playoffs, and we know BBL is in playoffs. So at the very least, we know they make it to playoffs. Now, I'm going to do all of the other teams first, and then maybe we'll move these ones around since they're the top seeds. Got to keep that retention until the very end of the video. But with that being said, let's actually start ranking some teams. And we've got G2 as our first pick here. G2, they started off in kickoff looking kind of shaky, quite honestly. But they've kind of reinvented themselves. They've gone from being this very slow, methodical team like they were last year into one of the first early adopters of the double duelist meta with Babybay and Jogmo. And Babybay and Jogmo have kind of switched roles as well, where Jog used to be like that dive duelist to basically sacrifice himself for the team, whereas Babybay was like playing the secondary like on Yoru, or he was playing a lot of ISO as well. And this kind of switched, so now Jog is playing like Neon instead of playing Yoru or whatever, and it's actually made a lot of difference, I'd say, in how they're playing. Jog was not a very good waylay, I don't think. Babybay looks okay, you know what I mean? So where do I think G2 are going to land? Right away, I think I'm going to put them in top 4. I don't necessarily know if they're going to be a trophy contender. Maybe they'll move up later on in the stage once I rank some of these other people, but right now I'm going to put them in top 4. And then we'll go on to NRG, which are the other Americas team. They scraped into playoffs, or not into playoffs, but into the Masters event at all. They looked okay, like during kickoff, but they weren't the best, I would say. And I'm sorry, I'm a little bit sick. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I shouldn't have done that. Excuse me. Anyways, NRG. I don't think that they're going to be a trophy contender, but I do think that they'll make it to playoffs, and I think they'll at least win 1 game in playoffs. EDG is our next one here. They're no longer, the Chinese farmer, like they win everything in China. I mean, that can be seen by the fact that AG won first seed in the region, although that's a whole other story that we'll get to once we rank AG. EDG, they still look all right. I still expect them to make it to playoffs. Do I? Compared to XLG, honestly, like if I had to choose between EDG and XLG, I would probably choose XLG. So I'm gonna say that EDG go out in the Swiss stage, which, I don't know, maybe that's a hot take, but that's what I think. Gentle Mates now, moving on to the EMEA teams. I mean, Martin alone should be able to get them into playoffs. He's a powerhouse. Maybe his performance will dip a little bit on the international stage, but he was in an international last year with Carmine Corps, or was that the year before? I don't remember. and so maybe those jitters won't be there as much. But for the other parts of his team, maybe. I mean, Starkso is kind of a veteran. He's been in internationals before, but the other players on that team are still kind of new to the scene. So I think that there's going to be a little bit of jitters. I'm still a big fan of this team. I think that they'll make it to playoffs, but once they're up against other really high caliber teams, I'm not so sure. Moving on to Paper Rex, we'll skip around into the regions. They are another one of those teams where last year, you know, they looked incredible, and then coming into this year, looked a little shaky. They dropped into like the lowers, I think, and managed to like qualify through just a huge performance from Forsaken. And again, just like Martine, I think Forsaken's just good enough to make them hit the playoffs, get out of the Swiss stage, but I don't really expect all that much from them. But again, this is Paper Rex we're talking about, right? Paper Rex have again and again proven themselves to be an incredible team in these specifically in internationals. So actually I'm going to put them in wins a game in playoffs rather than just makes it to playoffs, because they always show up at internationals. You know how it is. T1, I think, you know, this is crazy because 4 teams are going to go out in the Swiss stage, right? I only have one in the right now, which is EDG, and I don't really think any of these teams will. Okay, I think that out of these 3 teams, I think it's most likely that Team Liquid goes out in the Swiss stage, because like, yes, they made it to playoffs, but it was like, or they didn't make it to play. They made it to Santiago, but it was like a very near thing, and they just needed some huge like performances from Nats, specifically his speeches, to even get their head in the game and get them to the event. So I definitely think that with the new team, new roster, Liquid could definitely go out in the Swiss stage. T1, I don't think that they go out in the Swiss stage. But if I'm thinking between Paper Rex and T1, right, I would probably just favor Paper Rex because they're Paper Rex. But maybe I'm just saying, like, that's the legacy buff. Like, I don't know. I'm going to put T1 out in the Swiss stage, but I don't really feel happy about it, quite honestly. And then XLG, they lost to AG, and AG don't look good, right? You know what I mean? So I could definitely see them going out in the Swiss stage, but I don't want to put them out in the Swiss stage, because I actually do like XLG. I actually think XLG is better than AG, but I can't put these 4 teams in the bottom because like they're already in playoffs, right? So I'm gonna put XLG out in the Swiss stage. I think that these 4 teams are definitely much more likely to get out of Swiss than these 4 teams, right? Although I still think mates are down near the bottom. Of these 4, though, these 4 are absolutely in playoffs. They already made it. Nongshim, Furia, AG, and BBL. Of these 4 teams, I expect Nongshim to do pretty well. I expect... So it's just kind of difficult. I think AG are going to stay in this tier. But for Furia and BBL, I need to see them lose something first, right? We need to see how they handle a loss. Because for some teams, they'll be winning, everything's great, and then they lose one game, and it all crumbles down because they have like no mental. And then cracks start to form, maybe interpersonal like issues that were okay because they were winning, and everyone was like, well, I may not like this guy, but we're winning, so I'll deal with it. Then if they lose, those start to form, and like toxicity starts to breed. So I need to see how these 2 teams lose, how they handle losing. I think of the 2, I expect more from BBL than I expect from Furia. because BBL have been together. They stuck together through Ascension, and they know each other. There's probably much more likelihood that they're friends, you know, that they mesh together well. As for Furia, there's like a little bit of differences in the cultures and everything, you know, with Artesian and Kuala Noob and the America's cultures kind of clashing there. So I expect BBL to do better than Furia. Now, I don't have anyone in trophy contender yet. I think that I'm going to move G2 up. I think that I'm going to move BBL up. I need 2 more in the top 4 at least. Okay, you know what? I'm going to move Mates up. No, I'm going to move Furia up. And I'm going to move NRG and Paper Rex up. Do I think Red Force is Nongshim is better than Paper Rex? I don't know. This is really tough. This is really, really tough. I think that I'm going to do this. Is that crazy? Is that crazy? BBL in the trophy contender? I don't know. I think that I think that they'll be fine. We need to see them lose, right? Like, this could age horribly, and it probably will, right? Honestly, probably all 4 of these people will make playoffs, and my list will just be fucked. But the way that I feel right now is that BBL are gonna do good at this event. I don't have any real reasoning. It's just like a gut feeling. And I think G2 are going to do well too. They reinvented themselves, you know, they're doing well. So this is going to be my tier list, I think. I think that the grand final is going to be G2 versus BBL. And then NRG and Paper X are fighting for 3rd place. I don't think that AG is going to win a game. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. But this is my list. I think that these 4, EDG, Liquid, T1, and XLG are going to go out in the Swiss stage. I think that Gentlemates will come through because of a big performance from Martin, but he might flop. The pressure might get to him, you know what I mean? And that's okay. We shouldn't, if he flops, we shouldn't be upset or think like, oh, what happened to Martin? You know, it's a big stage. There's a lot of pressure on him. It's okay if he doesn't do well. I think that Nongshim and Furia, you know, have what it takes to beat AG. And then I think NRG and Paper Rex have that legacy buff. NRG were the champs last year. They've looked okay. They haven't looked incredible, but they still, you know, showed that they have that NRG buff, right? And then G2, they're G2. And then BBL, they're on a heater. They won Ascension. They've gone flawless in EMEA. I think that they definitely could be a contender here. So that's my list. If you don't like it, comment down below because it gives me engagement. Thank you very much, and see you guys later.